Landlords, have we got a doozy for you. This video needs to be shared across social media with U.S. representatives in the state legislature and our landlord friends across America. Courtesy of the Daily Gazette newspaper, a prominent newspaper in upstate New York that has been around for decades and decades, has an editorial in today's publication, May 14th, 2021. It is an editorial regarding the eviction moratorium in New York State. It is written by a New York State Assemblymember who is way off. This New York State Assemblymember, his name is This is the Landlord Advocates, where we help landlords become better landlords. I'm your host, Matthew Lyman. Welcome. The State Assembly member, his name is Phil Steck. He represents the 110th Assembly District in the state of New York. He has voted consistently for the laws that support tenant rights, tenants this, tenants that. He has voted for the legislation that has been turned into laws that we landlords in New York State do not support. In the editorial, Mr. Steck asserts the facts regarding this eviction moratorium for the readers of the Daily Gazette, again in today's publication, May 14, 2021. Well, his facts and his assertions don't mesh. They're not facts. They're misleading comments. They're not real. We here at the Landlord Advocates are going to give you the facts. And we're going to look at his assertions, and we're going to show them how those assertions are off base. When we do that, Mr. Steck, you can thank us, because we're going to educate you to the facts, to the law, and to the legislation that you voted aid for without even knowing the contents of that law. We're going to take this editorial, friends, and we're going to take it apart. We're going to dissect it. We're going to state what he states, what he writes, to what the facts actually are. The eviction moratorium is misunderstood. No, Mr. Steck, the eviction moratorium is not misunderstood. Landlords across New York State know exactly what it is. It has been a major impediment to us landlords to say bye-bye to our tenants in the eviction process. That is what the eviction moratorium is, Mr. Steck. Trust me, we do not misunderstand what it is. It doesn't ban evictions. Well, you're right, Mr. Steck. It does not ban evictions. It just makes them virtually impossible. Like trying to put water to a pot. The water's not going to go through the pot. You have created a calendar in the eviction process in the state of New York. You and your colleagues who have voted for this. That this calendar is so tightly woven, evictions can basically not get through that calendar. That's what you and your colleagues have done. So, does it ban evictions? No. Just makes it very, very hard to get. Evictions can occur if a tenant has not certified to financial hardship. No, Mr. Steck. There's no certification behind this declaration of hardship. It is just a document that a tenant signs and gives to the court or gives to the landlord. There's no verification. There's no proof. There's no questions asked. There's no certification. There's no notary. It doesn't say sworn to me before on this day. This tenant affixed their signature attesting to the information to be true and accurate to the best of their knowledge. It does not say that, Mr. Steck. It is not a certified declaration at all. It's just a piece of paper that the tenant signs. That's all it is. If the tenant makes a false representation, then the landlord should bring that evidence to court. Mr. Steck, that's not how it works. If the tenant signs the declaration, the landlord cannot bring it to court. If they have not filed for a court date, prior to getting this declaration from the tenant, the landlord cannot even file for a court date because the declaration was signed by their tenant. If the tenant signs it after the acquisition of the court date, the court would adjourn the case out till September, October. In some cases, we've heard from our friends on social media, one of them being Trevor. Trev has his court date in December. So no, you're not going to present anything to the court, because when that happens and you go to court and the tenant signs the declaration, the court is going to say to you, to the landlord, arrivederci, Wiedersehen, adieu, goodbye, we will see you in a few months, take care. So there's no evidence to present in court, Mr. Stack. He goes on. Now landlords, before I read this next piece, swallow what you're eating, swallow what you're drinking, put down the cup. Because if you have anything in your mouth, you're going to be spitting it out with this next comment that he makes in this editorial. It's actually funny. It's actually funny. If the court is unwilling to consider it, then the landlord should go to the police, because misrepresenting financial hardship is akin to criminal welfare fraud. Okay. I can imagine this phone call. Your tenant signed a declaration. They're working. They're making a ton of money. They're buying Gucci, Prada, Michael Kors. They're buying cars, vacations. Here's the phone call. Yes, police? Police, yes, I need help. My tenant signed a declaration of hardship, and they're not paying me the rent. And because of it, I want to press charges because they're stealing from me and they're not paying the rent. Officer, please. Yeah. State Assembly Member Phil Stack says I can call you and you'll do something about it. Please do something about it, officer. Before the officer responds, they're going to cover up the phone and they're going to laugh their ass off because of the phone call, because of the person on the other end of that phone. They're going to laugh. And they're going to say, I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Landlord. This is a civil matter. We can't do anything to help you. You try to have a good day, okay? Bye now. Mr. Stack, you don't understand. This is a civil matter. That same tenant can go to a grocery store, a mall, a restaurant, a gas station, a convenience store, and walk out with a $5 item, a 50-cent item, and get arrested for doing so. But not in the landlord world. They can walk out with $1,000 a month or more in rent, and the police are not going to get involved. Mr. Stack, your assertion that the landlord can call the police and the police are going to do something is ludicrous. It's beyond comprehension. Really, Mr. Stack, you should have thought about that before you put pen to paper and put that in the editorial. The landlord may also seek payment for lost rent from the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance. That's the New York State office. The application process and that process, they're saying should be ready by the end of May 2021. It's not there yet. In one program, the tenant requests payment to the landlord because of the tenant's financial hardship. Yes, the tenant applies with documentation about their income and all of that, and information from the landlord. The tenant can apply. But here's what happens. If they don't meet the qualifications, the landlord gets nothing. If they do meet the qualifications, the landlord can get paid. The problem with that is that the payment comes with stipulations. It comes with oppressive requirements. It comes with caveats, such as you can't evict for a year, you can't raise the rent for a year, if they want to stay another year under the lease, you cannot say no. So the payment that you might get as the landlord comes with restrictions. Well, when we, the landlords, rented to the tenant, we gave you the place to live. All we wanted from you was to be paid. It didn't come with stipulations and caveats. It just, give me my money, thank you very much. But under these programs, they do come with those restrictions. And if you, the landlord, say, no, I don't want to, you may not evict your tenant for over a year. When the government says the money's there, you refuse to take it. Therefore, you cannot evict for non-payment of rent. Talk about government extortion. That's the highest order of government extortion on the people that they allegedly represent in good faith. It goes on to state another one, and another. The landlord may seek payment with or without the tenant's consent. Mr. Stack, you're wrong again. The other one, the landlord can apply, but they must have written permission, a permission slip from the tenant, the teacher, to go out to the hall, to go to the bathroom, to apply for this money. So no, Mr. Stack, you're wrong again. The landlord has to grovel to the tenant for permission to apply for money that the tenant's not even paying for, to get paid the money that the tenant owes. They have to ask permission. So, Mr. Stack, you're wrong again. A tenant's certification of financial hardship is proof of the landlord's entitlement to relief. Mr. Stack, you and members of your party just love that word entitlement. It just fills your stomach with warm fuzzies. We're sick and tired of entitlement. The people that should be paying this rent are the tenants themselves. Why get us into a situation where taxpayers are paying billions of dollars in rent that these tenants should be paying, because a lot of them are not paying anything, even with all the stimulus money? I, for one, have a tenant, and that last financial round of stimulus received $5,600. That would have covered almost half of the rent that they owe me. I didn't get penny one. So entitlement? No, we're sick and tired of that word entitlement. Just pay the rent. Just pay the rent. And it shouldn't come from the taxpayers. It should come from the tenants who incurred that debt. The taxpayers did not. The tenant did. Without certification, a tenant may, of course, be evicted. Sure, without certification. But the landlord has to wait months and months to make that happen. Because who knows how long it will take for that Office of Temporary and Disability, whatever it might be, Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, to make that determination. In the meantime, the tenant sits there and waits. See if they get their money. And waits. The tenant remains liable for unpaid rent, although we recognize collection can be difficult. You don't say, Mr. Stack. You don't say. We landlords know it's impossible. That's why there's billions and billions of dollars owed to landlords across America right now. Billions in the state of New York. Our office alone has well over $4 million in uncollected rents that our clients are not seeing in close to 30 years and will never see. So yes, Mr. Stack, judgments are valueless to most of us. Mortgage and tax foreclosures on the landlord's property are staying. Whoop-de-doo, Mr. Stack. For most of us that may have a mortgage, there will be a balloon payment due at the end of this moratorium, or it will be due at the end of the mortgage. Either way, it still has to be paid. Tax foreclosures, sure, they may be on hold, but once the moratorium is lifted, the government offices will be sending those tax foreclosure notices out, like people send Christmas cards out the day before Christmas. We're going to get inundated, and we're going to be foreclosed upon. The tenants will lose geography. They'll just move a block away, a street away, a city away. Landlords will lose the property that they have spent so much of their life and money investing in. Further, a tenant who is a danger to other tenants can be evicted. Yes, that's true. But, Mr. Stack, landlords, many of them, have to come to court with such an overwhelming preponderance of the evidence. That's what they call it, Mr. Stack, in a civil matter. In a criminal matter, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. So landlords have to come to court with such an abundance of evidence to beat the preponderance of the evidence defense that for a lot of them it's almost impossible. And that still drags out the process of the eviction. I understand landlords feel there should be no interference with their property rights and do not want to apply for government assistance. Well, yeah. Property rights? Absolutely, Mr. Stack. It's obvious when governments lay down stipulations and regulations upon landlords and other businesses. They say goodbye and go to other states, like Texas and Florida. that are receptive to business and welcoming to businesses. That's why those states are picking up members in the Congress, and states like New York and California are losing members. Go figure, Mr. Stack. Figure out why that's happening. We know why, and so do our landlords. They know why. They don't want to apply for government assistance because, as we alluded to earlier, it comes with all these stipulations that you must do, Mr. and Mrs. Landlord. You must do, or we're not going to give you the money. However, there is almost no industry that is not subject to regulation. Now that's a no-brainer. That's a newsflash. Like we didn't already know that. Employment and housing are the two most important economic activities in our lives, and are both subject to regulation. Well, like I said, we already know about that. Regulation upon regulation upon regulation is cutting off the economic engine that you mentioned because of it, and people are saying goodbye. Now you mentioned, Mr. Stack, that housing is an important economic activity in our lives. Yes, it is. For many landlords across New York State and across the United States, it is a major economic activity in our lives. And because of people like you, who have passed legislation that was voted on by governors who said, yes, this is great, we're gonna support it, you have stymied and cut off and harmed those economic engines in the lives of the citizens of the state that you represent. You're supposed to do no harm as a representative. You are supposed to help the people that you represent. This Mr. Stack is not helping them at all. You're hurting landlords by this legislation that you and your colleagues have voted for. The legislature cannot intervene to open up the court system to more cases. When you are getting involved, these moratoriums have handcuffed those good judges and good courts that want these evictions to go through, that want the judicial system to do what it was put in place for, to adjudicate cases in fairness to those who bring those cases to court. This is not happening because of legislation that you have signed and say aid to, and that the governor has passed into law. The courts are a separate branch of government that we do not control. You do. These eviction moratoriums that have been in place now, what will be for 18 months, is absolutely stymieing the court from doing their job of hearing cases and hearing evictions. So, Mr. Stack, the Gazette editorial board has put above your editorial, which is what the Gazette does, followers, viewers. And their statement is, get facts on state's eviction moratorium. That is about Mr. Stack's editorial. Well, the facts were not there. We just gave them to you. His assertions were off base. We put them where they needed to be to give a home run to us landlords. So, Mr. Stack, you're welcome. We're hoping that we help to educate you as to what the truth is behind these laws and this legislation that you voted for. Because it seems apparent to us that you really didn't know what you were voting for. But that seems to be a common practice among government representatives from coast to coast. Landlords, we hope that we helped you. You know that we're here with you. You already know that. We are here for you all the time, day and night. We hope that you subscribe to our channel, hit the like bell, hit the notification so that you will be notified of future videos. Share this video with other viewers, your friends and other people. Hit the like button on the YouTube video itself. It will tell YouTube that everybody loves it and it will share it more. So that we can help you even more to become a better landlord and to better understand what's happening to us in the landlord world across the United States. Until then, take care.